Saturday edition of the show. Salute to everybody out there. What's going on, Knicks Nation? CP from the Knicks Fan TV. My man Jay Ellis from the Nick of Time Show. Special guest with us today. He goes by the name of Front Office I, Spencer Perlman, also the Stepien. And on today's show, we're going to break down his top 5 NBA draft prospects right now, pre-March Madness tournament. And yeah, we're going to take your phone calls, man. This is a Knicks NBA draft special Saturday live stream featuring Spencer Perlman. Spencer, how you feeling today, bro?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good, man. So, let's tell the fans a little bit about yourself, man.
All right. So yeah, I'm Spencer. Graduated law school a little over a year and a half ago. I've always been a huge basketball fan. Worked with the Tulsa Shock in their front office, where I was scouting, doing contracts, helped them practice a little bit, and worked with statistics. And now I am sending out scouting reports to teams, keeping like a private portfolio for myself, and trying to get in with a front office somewhere.
Okay. That's good, man. Well, hopefully, if they watch you on the show, man, hopefully they get to see a little bit of what you bring to the table. But definitely thanks for coming on and joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, you were at the game last night at the Garden. We got an 11-48 New York Knicks team. The tank is strong. It's formidable. So, listen, March 14th is a very important day as part of the offseason rebuild for this team. So, in this draft, what's been noted as not too deep of a draft, let's take a look at your top 5, man. Let's start with the big guy, man, the one that everybody's highly touting. Just broke out of his sneakers earlier this week, busted out of his Paul Georges. As Zion Williamson, man. What is your take on the Zion phenomenon, bro?
He's a phenomenon. Like 6'6", he's not 285 anymore. He's been losing some weight. He's in the 270s now. He's unbelievable athlete. He's got ridiculous vertical spacing ability. He can pass, he can handle, he can finish. The jump shot, needs a little bit of work, but I think he's been shooting somewhere in the 30s from 3 since conference play started. His personality is awesome. Like, he is a guy you want in front of the big lights, and I think he'd do well in New York.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that I see looks like he can handle the spotlight, man. But on his jumper, where where a lot of people like to knock him a few points. I mean, what is it that people are criticizing him for? Is it the shooting form? Is it just the low percentage? Or what about his jumper is the knock right now?
It's both. He was never really a good shooter, even going back to his time in AAU. And I posted a few clips maybe 2 months ago or so of some of his AAU stuff and his off-the-dribble shooting ability, where it's actually better. But when you watch his form shooting, taking catch-and-shoot jump shots, his elbow is flaring and he's not squared up anywhere. Like, his elbow is going one way, his feet are going the other, and his body is fine. But the form needs work. I don't think he'll ever really be a good catch-and-shoot shooter. Maybe he'll get to 33, 34%, which is serviceable, but the average in the NBA is 35 or 36. But I do think he's a better off-the-dribble jump shooter than he's shown, just because of what we've seen in the past and Coach K kind of limiting his role.
I hear that. What I see in him, what I like even more so than just the way he dominates the game, is his defense, man. What's your take on his defense? Because I feel like he has a good defensive awareness out there. He has a good knack for the ball. What's your take on Zion from a defensive standpoint?
Yeah, so on ball, I think he's great when he actually wants to get in the stance. Like, he's a big guy. For him to be able to stay with smaller players, his technique has to be pretty on point, even with his ridiculous athleticism. But when he's not locked in, it's easier to take him off the dribble, and you'll see a couple of guys get by him. Then off ball, I think his positioning is actually pretty good. Like, people think that he's just that guy who's going to go for steals and blocks, and he'll take a lot of risks. And more often than not, I think he'll get away with it just because his anticipation's great. His IQ is great, but then there are other times where he's just not doing well at all. And like he'll get beat backdoor because he's going for a steal just where he shouldn't be. So I think his defense is definitely overlooked. I think that if you really want to make him into like a defensive player of the year candidate in the NBA, which I think he can get there, he has to be drafted and he has to be coached up and basically taught to like, basically pick and choose when you go for the steal, when you go for the block and things like that.
Interesting, man. In terms of his fit, another area where I see people, I guess, confused about is can he guard threes? Are threes going to be too quick for him at the NBA level? Are fours going to be too big for him at the NBA level? What do you think about that in terms of where he fits?
I mean, in terms of weight, I think he's coming in like the second heaviest player in the NBA behind Boban.
Wow.
Which is crazy because Boban's like 7'3".
Yeah, facts. Facts. That's crazy, man.
But that's funny because isn't the allure that he is heavy and can do those kind of things? And if he's kind of a normal weight, he would just be like a small forward almost.
Yeah, and my thing is like I think if he gets down to like 255-ish pounds, he'll still keep that same strength because he's not someone who plays smaller than his weight. If anything, he plays bigger than his 265-pound, 270-pound frame. So if he gets down to 255, I think he'll be able to guard fours. I think he'll be able to switch on to some smaller fives. And then threes, yes, but do you really want anyone like him chasing someone around the perimeter?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if I'd want that if I were a coach. But switching on point guards, I think he'll be able to defend most point guards in isolation when he's in the stance.
I wonder if he'd be quicker if you lose the weight too, because that's the scary part. Because you lose 30 pounds, the speed is going to go up. So I wonder. I wonder.
Yeah. I mean, there's like another level that he can reach athletically. It's like everyone's seen the photo of him blocking like DeAndre Hunter's jump shot. He was like 15 feet away, and then he ends up closing in. And then, all the photos of his head at the rim and above the rim. And I mean, he can get higher. And then in the short space athleticism, which is also like unheard of, he'll just be, half a second faster, which doesn't seem like it makes a big difference, but that's a huge difference in the NBA.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I like this kid's defense, man. I definitely like this kid's defense, even more so than his offense, man. Spencer, what's your take on the injury hype and the should he play, should he not play sort of deal? Where are you on that?
I think college athletes should either be paid or they should be allowed to use like their image in order to, either get sneaker deals or sell autographs or that kind of stuff. So from that standpoint, like why would you risk tearing your ACL or spraining your MCL again or doing something to your foot, which is obviously terrible for a big man. Like if I were him, I'd really, really think about just sitting out because he's going to be the first overall pick if he doesn't play another second.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I want to see him play just because I don't really want to have to go, 8 months without watching him in a competitive atmosphere.
Right.
Yeah.
But in terms of the injury, like this is the first big injury he's ever had. As far as I know, like I've done research, I've tried searching for anything. I think he might have had like knee tendonitis for like a week or so, which I know tendonitis is like a progressive thing and just gets worse, but it hasn't bothered him since then. And the MCL was like, this was a freak accident. Like his shoe just exploded on him.
Exploded.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, just going back to the weight, if he gets down, to 255, 260, I think his career will probably stay at its peak a little bit longer just because it's less wear and tear in his joints. And yeah, I mean, I'd weigh my options with him.
Yeah. But overall, you think that the hype is real with Zion? You think he's going to be the real deal at the next level?
Yeah, I think him and Luka are like the two next guys up.
Yeah.
Like I was super high on Luka, and I'm super, super high on Zion also. Like those guys they're going to be the next guys to take over the NBA.
Who do you think was a better prospect?
Next question.
I haven't seen that, man. It's interesting, man. It's an interesting debate.
Tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. Like those guys are definitely like the two like clear tier 1 guys. Like
Right.
I'm comfortable building around either of them. They both have very different skill sets. You really can't go wrong either way.
Yeah. Interesting, man. We got a lot of star power coming into the league, JLs, that's for sure.
Yeah, man.
A lot of star power coming into the league. Hopefully, like I said, May 14th. Let's hope for the best, man. Let's hope for the best.
Please.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat on this Saturday morning. I think a couple people on my channel had some trouble getting into the show, but I think they're also on your channel, JL. So
yeah, I seen them.
Yeah, so they're able to catch it. Welcome everybody to the show. Saturday edition NBA Draft Early Bird live stream. We're talking about Spencer's top 5 prospects as it stands right now. So we just got through Zion. Spencer, where you want to go next, man? Who's your number 2?
The number 2
on your big board right
Controversial.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. Like you can really go any way. So the way I see it, you have one tier 1 guy, and then you just have a whole bunch of guys at tier 2.
Yeah, that seems to be the sentiment from a lot of guys. It's Zion in a class by himself, and the rest.
Yeah, like my tier 2 is trade down. Like I would trade down, try to pick up a couple assets, see what happens. Yeah,
against your theory.
Yeah, I think the value between you could get RJ at the 2nd pick, you could get Cam at the 2nd pick, or you could trade down. Maybe you could get maybe Hunter falls to 8. And then you could pick up Hunter and then maybe get another guy in the mid-first round, or maybe you could do what Dallas did and pick up. I mean, you're probably not going to get a protected top 5 pick in next year's draft just because next year's draft is better than this year's draft. But I mean, I don't know. We can go whichever way you guys want.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little knocks on those guys, that's Cam and RJ specifically, because they seem like they're not really high defensive guys and not really a high percentage shooting either. So I don't know, like maybe it could be worth getting somebody who might not be as the upside not be as high, but they might be a sure bet in the NBA as like a role player or just a good player.
Yeah.
Instead of
bust. Yeah. Like I love Hunter. Like Hunter I think is going to be a great defender. I think he's going to be a good offensive player. I actually think Cam is a great defender. His shooting is super inconsistent, and that's an issue. Like his form, if you actually watch his form in the next couple of games, you'll see sometimes his elbow's down here, other times it's like super pointy, and it's just he doesn't look comfortable when he shoots.
Cam Reddish. Yeah, let's talk about Cam, because I feel like, especially on our show, I feel like a lot of people in the chat aren't too high on him. No, number one thing I hear from people a lot is that he's getting overshadowed by RJ Barrett and Zion. How do you see that with Cam, Spencer?
It's interesting. And on the one hand, I think he kind of is, just because you have RJ/Zion as the 1 and 1A guys, and then you have Trey Jones as the next guy up.
I love Trey Jones, man. That dude's a ball hawk, man. He's a ball hawk.
Yeah. And then Cam just kind of floats around in the back on offense, and he's more often than not the 4th option. So I don't really think him playing with Duke is the best for his progression, because his biggest knock coming into college was he floats in and out of games. He's not that aggressive, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So him kind of taking the back seat to 2 or 3 other guys is something I wasn't a huge fan of. But I mean, at the same time, when he has a bigger role, it's not like he's snatching it up and taking advantage of it. He's still fading into the back a little bit, mostly being a catch and shoot player. You can't really trust him around the rim, which is, I mean, it's odd because he's not a great athlete, but he's a better athlete than I think he showed this year. His turnovers are up, and the playmaking that I was under the impression that he had, and many others were under the impression he had coming into the season, it's where is it? I mean, it's not really there that much.
Right. Which is why I was kind of confused when I saw early reports of people slotting him in at the 1. I didn't really see that. But then some of the ways you categorize him it's kind of the Knox comparisons are almost similar, JLs.
Yep, exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think he's more talented. So I actually said in the podcast I did with Macri, the first podcast I did, I think, and I said that Cam might be the most talented overall in terms of him being able to pass, being able to shoot, being able to defend, but his mindset is not that of Zion or even RJ. Like if Cam had RJ's mindset, that would be a very scary player.
Right.
But
mindset is a scary thing to me, man. This is why I was scared of Knox when he came to the Knicks, man, because I don't know how I feel like mindset might be hard to change.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah. So that scares me. Even with Knox being here. I mean, Knox is here. God bless him. I hope everything turns out right and that coach is inspiring him. It worries me a little bit.
Yeah. It's interesting, man, because as you point to his strength, Spencer, in being a good on and off ball defender and his length, obviously that's something that Fizdale likes, and obviously that's something that could give us a lot of flexibility. But the motor issue, the mental issue, could give you reason to pause.
Yeah, and then his mid range jump shot is nice. Like last game, I think they ran him off 2 or 3 pin downs and he hit them. It's just when he's trying to put the ball down and attack the rim, he's either turning it over or he's just not finishing. Like he's finishing I think 48 or 49% of the shots at the rim this year, which is bad. He's below 40% maybe from 2 this year. Those are not only red flags, those are like blood red flags. Like that's not good.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. I saw the Florida State game. I thought that's probably his best one of the season so far.
Yeah. He went off.
Yeah, he went off. But as you said, even the Carolina game, once Zion went out, a lot of people were looking at Cam and even to a certain extent RJ to kind of step up a little bit. But overall bad game by the Blue Devils there.
Yeah, that wasn't fun.
Yeah, man. So speaking of RJ, let's go to RJ next, man. What's your take on RJ Barrett? I feel like he's another one that's the opinions on him are quite polarizing, not just with Knicks fans, but just overall college basketball fans and what he can really be, man. Go ahead,
people are calling him the second coming of Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, I've seen Tim Hardaway. I've seen Kobe. I've seen the spectrum, Spencer. I've seen it, man. I've seen T-Mac. Somebody said T-Mac. I
was talking to one of my friends a few days ago, and he actually brought up Dion Waiters, which was a comparison I hadn't heard before. And in terms of strengths and weaknesses, it's interesting to think about. But the way I see it, RJ has the Kobe mindset without the Kobe skill set, which is why his efficiency is low. It's why he's taking on 3 guys at the rim instead of kicking it to the strong side corner where someone's open. But if you want an engine for an inefficient offense, and something should be said for that because not many people have that ability, I do think RJ can do that. I think he'll get his 25 points on 53% true shooting, kind of like what Melo did, and not really provide much else, which is kind of unfortunate because he's skilled. He can pass, he can defend when he wants to. The shot is definitely a giant question mark, but if he's drafted somewhere where he's given the reins day one, that I don't think that's going to turn out very well. But if he goes to, there's really no chance he ends up in San Antonio. But San Antonio is probably the one place I'd love to see him, just because Popovich and his ability to really get every ounce out of every player and play to their strengths.
Kind of like how he has DeRozan playing right now.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and I've heard that comparison also. DeRozan was a better jump shooter coming out of college, and his form was much more translatable. He was able to pull up quickly from the mid range, and he definitely wasn't the passer that RJ is now. RJ is probably, he's far ahead of where DeRozan was as a rookie, and basically DeRozan right now, he's definitely improved as a passer. But if RJ can have that upward trend that DeRozan has, he can be a very, very good passer in the NBA. But does he want to be the very good passer?
Yeah,
he likes shooting. He likes shooting a lot.
Yeah, especially I see him forcing a lot, especially the Carolina game. Just watching the Carolina game, a lot. He does make a lot of forced shots, but then there's other times like the NC State game where he flashes some ability, man. So I guess it just depends on what he wants to be on a given game.
Yeah, the NC State game, that was the triple-double game, right?
Triple-double game, yeah.
Yeah, so that game, I made a quick video about that, and like the reads that he was making on offense, they weren't super special. But when the double team came high, instead of attacking it, he'd kick it to someone and they get the shot. So he's making the smart pass.
Right.
So when you watch that game, then you compare that to what he did against UNC, it's night and day. Like he was driving on 3 or 4 defenders with guys standing wide open. And the NC State game, like he has that ability to do that consistently. It's pretty simple. When the double team comes, you kick it. But the fact that he's only really done it once this entire year makes me think that was more of, a flash in the pan versus a consistent thing.
I hear that, man. What were you saying, Jails?
Oh no, I wasn't saying anything. I was just admiring his analysis.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting, man. It's interesting. I mean, you got like the size. He's listed as 6'6", 6'7".
Mm-hmm.
As you said, man, can be a willing passer, but having just gotten rid of Tim Hardaway Jr., who's I guess similar style game, so hard for Knicks fans to accept. I see some people saying he's a Chuck. Easy Win says he isn't selfish. Yeah, like I said, man, the opinions are very sporadic with RJ, man. Very sporadic.
There's people who say they want RJ over Zion, which seems insane to me.
Yeah,
I've seen people say that on Twitter, and I'm like pulling back my fingertips, so I'm not typing anything.
Yeah,
like I'm just. You guys can think that I'm not. No.
No. Tell how you really feel. Don't you don't gotta be polite. This is. You tell them how it is.
I mean,
tell them they're crazy. Tell them they're crazy.
Yeah, like Zion is to AD what basically RJ is to Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Like the drop off between 1 and 2 is massive.
They average around the same amount of points, and Zion takes far less shots.
Yeah, John Wasserman, he had a tweet, and it was like I think RJ. I think he made 2 fewer shots or something like that on like an extra 100 and something attempts. I mean,
that's crazy.
Really? Like, yeah.
Yeah, man. Zion's number 1, guys.
Zion is number 1.
It's not to get too crazy and overthink this.
Yeah.
I feel like people go the other way because they're tired of the hype train. It's like you just want to pick somebody else because this guy's been in the spotlight for so long. But Zion's number 1. Just get that out the way, and then number 2, 3, 4, we can debate that all.
The question is, can we get there, man? Can we?
Get there?
Well, time will tell, man. Time will tell. Shout out everybody in the chat once again. This is a Saturday edition of the show. Knicks Fan TV, my man JL's from the Nick of Time show. Spencer, the front office eye, also at the Stepien, does some scouting for the NBA. On the rise, up and coming scout. Joining us today to give us his top 5 big board. I saw some people in the chat had some trouble finding the show. That was probably my fault, technical difficulty on my end. So apologies on that if you're missing it live. But I see JL, so you got some people in your chat. So shout out to everybody joining us. T. Williams, Easy Wins, Skip, Chris, Alex, all the way from Ireland, checking in with us. Alex was the one that recommended you to us, man. Spencer.
Yeah. I like Alex. He's a good guy.
Never misses a show, man.
Next film school.
Yeah, you would think he lives in New York, man. This guy's 6 hours ahead of us.
Alex is the mayor of Knicks Twitter.
He's the mayor of Knicks Twitter.
Alex is the most underrated Knicks Twitter guy on Twitter.
Facts, man. Facts. He's our chat moderator. He's everything, man. He wears multiple hats in the community. So
that's a fact.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Alex and for recommending Spencer. Okay, so we went through Zion, we went through Cam Reddish, we went through R.J. Barrett. So we've gone through the 3, Spencer. Who are you charting in at 4? You want to go Garland or you want to go Culver?
I'm going Culver. I had Culver as high as 2 earlier this season.
Yeah.
I just saw that. I just saw that, man. So tell us a little bit about Jared Culver from Texas Tech, man.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Karis LeVert. And like I mean, I know Knicks, Nets, all that stuff, but
yeah,
I loved LeVert at Michigan, and the only reason he wasn't really drafted that high was because of all the injury concerns. Culver, he's not really a primary guy. I mean, the only primary guys really, I guess, might be Zion and then RJ, although with the inefficiency. But in terms of being like a secondary, tertiary guy in the starting on this like in the starting lineup in a very good team, I think Culver can do it all. He's smart.
He's more of a 2 or a 3.
So he's listed at 6'5", but he's not 6'5". Like he's probably closer to 6'7". And Ben Rubin also had to step in. He actually wrote a piece basically trying to figure out how tall he actually is. And I mean, I'd bet on him being measured in somewhere between 6'6.5" and
yeah,
6'7".
he looks tall. He looks tall.
Yeah, and then the thing is, like, people say he's skinny. He's definitely not like super built, but when you want to see if someone can guard like a bigger guy, the upper body's going to develop not pretty quickly, but it's going to develop. Big legs. Like I think I pointed this out on Twitter before. It's a little bit weird to say, but the guy's quads are pretty big. So wow. You want to switch him on to like a power forward, like a Thaddeus Young. I think he'd be able to do it. He's not a power forward, but everyone's switching now in the NBA. So having someone who can do that, that's a big strength.
Interesting, man. Yeah. Jared Culver out of Texas Tech, shooting 50% from the field, 34% from 3.
Yeah,
but
his shooting dipped a little bit recently.
Okay, so yeah, talk about that. You said the shooting and his shooting form are some of his weaknesses.
Yeah. So I think it was before the last 2 games, he was having a pretty rough stretch. I don't know what the percentages are off the top of my head, but like it just wasn't good. And that's kind of to be expected because if you go back and watch his stuff from last year, his form is completely different. Like he completely retooled it. Last year it was a mess. This year it's kind of a mess, but it's workable. Like, there's a slight hitch, and I actually think that maybe that's part of the reason why he's able to catch some defenders off guard because, when he's still waiting to release the ball, they're on their way down. So I don't think it's a huge issue. But next year, I mean, he's shooting this well in year 1 of a new form. Year 2, it should be even better. So I guess that's in the shooting and the form, but I'll buy it. Like, I'll buy stock in the form. I'll buy stock in his shooting ability going forward.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. So you think you see him as more of a number 3 option on an average team, number 1 on the Knicks?
Yeah, like I think he could probably be a number 2, but like even at Texas Tech, he's the number 1, but he's not like the guy creating everything. It's more of like the offense creating the looks, and then he's taking advantage of it. He's hitting guys out of the post, mid post, stuff like that. But I think he'd be a perfect 3rd option. I think he'd be a perfect, obviously, 4th option because then he's going down a little bit more. I think he can be a good 2nd option, just not on a championship level team.
Right.
But if the Knicks get KD and Kyrie or KD and who else, if you want someone who's just going to slot in, he'd slot in.
He could be a good slotting guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting, man. Dan Wynn in the chat says he likes Culver's motor potential. He likes his motor. Let's see what else people in the chat say. Easy Win says Jared Culver, nice player. Hope we don't fall that low. He doesn't think we will fall that low this year.
I mean, it's crazy. Like the first year the Knicks are actually tanking, you have a 50% chance if you get the worst record to end up 5th.
Which is why the tank needs to commence and commence strongly. I'd rather just pick 5th than 7th. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Jake Bartosek in the chat says he's going to be at Texas Tech versus Kansas today at 7. He says he says he goes to Tech. He saw him in the student union building. He's definitely 6'7" at least.
There we go. All right, so it's confirmed.
Confirmed. Shout out to Jake for the insights there. Shout out to Jake for the insights, man. And when you guys want to call in, we're just going to run through Spencer's 5 first, and then we'll give you guys a chance to call in. I see some people on the line waiting to get in. So shout out to everybody in the chats once again. Give us a thumbs up on the video if you're feeling the stream. If you're a diehard Knicks fan, definitely subscribe to the channels and hit the notification bell so you don't miss shows like these. Okay, so we did Zion, we did Cam, we did RJ Barrett, we did Jared Culver. Let's talk about Darius Garland, Spencer. He's a guy that some people in the chat have also touted. Coming off of an injury, torn meniscus. But highly touted in the high school circuits, and you have him in your top 5, man. Tell us a little bit about why you like Darius Garland.
Yeah, so I actually went to Vanderbilt, full disclosure.
Oh, there you go. He's a homer, Jay Ellis.
I see.
He's a homer. It all makes sense. It all makes sense.
But like the way I see it, the two of the biggest strengths you can have at point guard right now are the ability to shoot, especially off the dribble, and then obviously playmaking, and then athleticism is there also. He's not the athlete Ja Morant is. Like, he's not. He never will be. But in tight spaces, the guy I think is actually even quicker than Ja. Like north south, he's not Ja. East west, I think he is Ja, if not more. But it's the ability to just like he'll pull up from 30 feet and it'll be Trae Young like just completely effortless.
Yeah, looks like a better shooter than Morant.
Yeah. Oh, much better, much better. I actually see some shades of Damian Lillard in his game, just because he'll pull up right hand, left hand again from 30 feet, pick and roll, whatever, and he'll pull and he'll hit it. Actually have the synergy stats pulled up right here. He was in the 99th percentile in jump shots. I mean, he played 4 games and then 4 minutes of the 5th game, but not like. He was 19 of 34 from on jump shots. That's great. And then even finishing around the rim, he's a bit slight.
Yeah.
But he's super comfortable with either hand. Like, he'll reach around with his left hand. He'll use every possible inch of his wingspan just to get the edge. And he's got a very soft touch. His playmaking, like, he's not Chris Paul, but I think he's a better playmaker than Lillard. He's not, Ja Morant's playmaker, but you got to leverage. You got to figure out, with the jump shot, you can take maybe a little bit slightly worse playmaker, because if anything, in the NBA where there's more spacing, they'll have to get out further.
Yeah.
And with his quickness, he can create looks off the dribble, just because guys have to respect the shot.
So what you're saying is, because a lot of people have Ja Morant number 2 in their minds. So what you're saying is you have him over Ja strictly because the jump shot is just that much further along.
Yeah, I think the jumper is basically what sets apart good players from great players. And Garland's one of the best college shooters I've seen. I mean, Ja is not. And people say, Ja's got a good free throw shooting percentage. He's like 81, 82% or something like that. He went 21 for 21 one game, and he's in the 30s from 3. But the form, I don't think, is translatable. And, he's got – it's not even like he just has one elbow shooting out. Like, both of the elbows are out, and that's not good for the ability to just pull up on a dime and shoot off the dribble. And again, Garland can do that now. So I think he'll be able to leverage that shooting ability to create looks at the rim for himself, and then to create easy looks for other guys. Whereas it's harder to do that when you're just an athlete and you have the passing ability.
So you think, because you don't hear too much about Garland, unless maybe, you're in your line of work where, you guys are studying these guys. But do you think it's maybe because of the injury why he's not being as highly touted as Morant right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if he had been healthy this season, I think he would have been easily the number one point guard, number one point guard in the draft. But, I mean, he's hurt. So. Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind. And then, when they have the interviews and stuff like that near the combine, the guy's super personable. Like, he's a fun guy. He's apparently a really hard worker, so I think he'll ace the interviews. Will he be the first point guard? I mean, if I'm a GM, I'm taking him first if I need that point guard. But I'm not a GM yet.
He's on the way, man. He's on the way. And he throws in his fellow alum in the top 5 jails.
Yeah,
I forgot.
Take it how you want it. Take it how you want it.
I forgot Spencer went to Vanderbilt, man. I forgot he went to Vanderbilt. Let's see what the chat has to say about Darius Garland. What do you guys think in the chat about Darius Garland? Leave us a comment or leave us a comment in the chat. Let's see. Ciroc says Vanderbilt's court is ugly. What do you think about that, Spencer? Were you happy with the court when you were a student there?
Different. I actually played there. I was going to try to walk on my senior year.
Okay.
Injury, so I didn't. But I was able to play there with a few of my friends, and I like the court. It's different because most times you have the team sitting on the bench in the sideline,
right?
But they're in the baseline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like when you're watching games, it takes some time to get used to, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely not like a high end arena. But,
yeah. Hey, man, that's something for you, man. It's all good.
So wait, you tried to walk on? Wait, you skipping something really important. You tried to walk on?
Yeah. Yeah, but I had a really, really bad back injury, basically.
Oh, man.
You said back?
Yeah, week before,
damn.
basically couldn't walk.
Damn.
So, yeah, timing was kind of bad. And the team wasn't that good senior year.
Yeah.
Like my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you could have been a man. Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I was just,
No.
yeah. I could have been drafted.
It could have been you and ISO Luke. You and ISO Luke played the inside-outside game with Luke Cornett, man.
That's what I heard.
You know?
Oh, team's bad. I can shine.
How was Luke at school, man?
He actually got there. So he started his freshman year the year after I left.
Okay.
All
right.
But like I watched all their games basically over the next 3-4 years, and I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, actually at the Knick game, who also was at Vanderbilt, and he's like, he never saw this coming. Like he thought maybe he'd be in the league for 1 year or 2 years max.
Yeah.
But like his shooting is so much better. Like he was slow. His shot was pretty inconsistent, and he's not a starting player now, but as a third string center, I'd love him as a second string center. I could work with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd say third or second. So you think he's got staying power with the Knicks and within the league?
Yeah. I mean, he's long and he can shoot.
Yep.
Yeah. Block shots, shoot threes. You can stay here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Luke had some good games for us this year, man. I like him. He had some good games against us, man. What else? Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Dan Wynn says Garland has a smooth shooting motion. He says he looks nice. He's a fan. Yeah. Cedric Calder, he's questioning Garland over Ja.
That's all right. I've heard it all. I've heard people say that. I'm okay taking the the road less traveled by that.
Yeah, and that's what I told people when I was hyping up the show. I said, your top 5 is not who they think it is, man, because you got Ja Morant outside of your top 5, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
24 points, 10 dimes, 2 steals for Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Yeah, this kid looks like a beast, man. I don't know, man. He just looks like he just has it, man. I actually saw a little bit of Lillard in Ja Morant.
Really?
I definitely did. What's your take when people are you also along the lines when people say he hasn't played anybody, Spencer?
I mean, his conference is bad, but he showed out against Auburn and was it Alabama?
Yeah, Alabama game over Christmas break. He had a good showing. Auburn as well.
Yeah. So I don't think it's. I mean, his schedule is easier, but the 2 big games he's had this year, or 2 of the big games he's had this year, was against great competition, and Auburn's defense is like ridiculously stingy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I
mean, outside of the shot, what's your take on his playmaking ability, man? Because that's what I like about him as well, man. The assist numbers are nice.
Yeah. So his passing it's special. Like it's very, very good, and it's actually funny because in the beginning of the year, I'm like, all right, is it really that good, or is it just because of him being the only guy initiating the offense? So I think I missed maybe like 3 games of his this year. His vision's like it's great.
Right.
Yeah, he has the ability to like make those left-handed hook passes that Trey can make. Does like right hand, tries to force it maybe a little bit too much, which is probably why his turnovers are a little bit too high. But the passing ability, like I love. If you had his passing ability with Darius Garland's shot, that'd be special.
Yeah. Yeah, I like his playmaking, man, and athleticism. I just like that dog in him, even on defense, man. He's jumping through the gym, JLs.
I like the dog point guards.
Yeah, man.
Like I know his off-ball defense isn't all that good. It's like off and on.
Yeah, and then even like the point of attack stuff, like getting over the screens and the pick and roll. If he's hit, he's done. Like he's not trying to get back in the play, and he takes so many questionable steal attempts, like 60 feet away from the basket. And that stuff you can be taught out of, but there have been few players I've seen who actually look like they care less than him on defense. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's interesting because on offense, when he has the ball, you see all the flash, you see his mind's like he wants to do something positive, even if it doesn't always work. But when he's off ball on offense, he's just kind of, you know, lollygagging around. He's not really moving much. Yeah, Jaws, he's interesting. Like even next year's point guard crop, I'd take pretty much all of them over him.
Who's number one next year? Is that Cole Anthony or is he someone else?
For point? Yeah, I mean Cole's definitely up there. There's another guy, Theo Maledon.
Okay.
He's playing for ASVEL or ASVL.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one, Killian Hayes. So Maledon's like a 6'5". He's a great defender. He's a great pick and roll player. He's got awesome finishing ability, and he just turned 18. Killian Hayes is more of like that smooth, play it, you know, slow down pace, but he can pick you apart. Passing, he can shoot a little bit, but that still needs a little bit of work. And then obviously Cole Anthony, everyone from New York knows.
Yeah, of course.
And everyone in the country knows who Cole Anthony is.
Right.
And then Anthony Edwards, who reclassified, and now he's playing at Georgia next year. He's not a point guard, but he's like a primary option on offense. He's that lead guard. I like Edwards a lot too.
Okay. Back to Morant. Another thing I see people, knock him on is his size. What do you think about that in terms of his frame and height?
Yeah, I don't think it's that good. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be that. Like, he's not going to be Russell Westbrook. He's not going to be Chris Paul. Though Chris Paul is a little chunkier more than he is, like, muscly, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's 175 now, I think.
175, yeah, 6'3", 175.
Yeah, so I mean, I can see him getting to like 185. I wouldn't really want to go much above that. I don't really think there's a need to, because even if he gets to like 200 pounds, it's going to reduce some of his athleticism probably, and he's not going to be a switch guy anyway. So I think it'd be kind of pointless to get like that big. But yeah, going back, his frame's not great. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I don't think it's that good.
Okay. All right.
What about Bol? Okay, Bol. I know that's your guy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no. Listen, these guys in the chat, I just think guys like that, man, he's already down with a bad injury, man. With a bad, what is it, a foot injury, a knee injury?
Yeah, it's a foot injury.
I don't trust it, man. We already got Mitch. We got to take care of Mitch, man. We got to treat Mitch like a baby, man. You got to tread lightly. KP was down with the nagging foot injuries.
So you're not down for Bobo the Black Unicorn? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know, man. I just wouldn't want to take the chance. Where you at with Bol, Spencer?
I'd probably have him outside of like my top 8 or 9, but after that, I mean,
after what, the injury?
No, like I'm saying, like after like the like around the 10th pick, if you can take a chance on him, I think he's an interesting player. His motor's not good. The foot injury is scary. Like that's not good.
That's what I'm saying, man. I don't trust it. I don't want that around. I need a sure thing or close to a sure thing.
Yeah. I mean, if he hits, he's really going to hit. I was talking with another one of my friends. I'm like, Bol is either going to be a huge stud, like he will be a unicorn, or he's going to fade out of the league, and like there is no real in between. There's just too.
Interesting, man. Interesting. Michael Parker sends us a super chat. Salute to Michael Parker. He says KD had a foot injury too. People forget. No, I definitely didn't forget because that was a bad injury too. That fifth. I think he needed a skin graft on that foot, man. So that's another thing. And with that, he's taking his injury and his championships to New York, JLs.
Hey,
after he wins his third one, he can come here and get the bag at
Yeah, come to New York, bring a friend.
Come to New York and bring a friend, man. I see people in the chat have questions for Spencer. Dave, if you want, send them the link to the Google form, and we'll get to those Q&As after we get to the phone calls as well. I don't want to miss anything in the chat, but I saw some people had questions for Spencer as well. So Dave, if you could send them the link, we'll pull that up for the end of the show. Real quick before we close out on the point guard, Spencer. So you were at the game last night and you were talking about DSJ. In terms of the draft strategy, I'm always with the best player available sort of deal. Mm-hmm. If we get to a 3 or 4 slot come May 14th and you have Morant and Garland there, not knowing what the free agency holds and still having Dennis Smith Jr. there, you think they should pull it regardless?
In most drafts, I'm a fan of just pick the best player, just because you can usually tell who it is. But after Zion, you can make an argument for 6, 7, 8 different guys.
Yeah.
So I guess unless if they really buy into Garland or Morant, then you should definitely pull the trigger and you should draft him. And I do think there's some sort of a market for Dennis Smith Jr., even with the defensive concerns and the inconsistent shot. The Knicks they're in an interesting place, I guess, just because they have no true number one guy. It's not like they're trying to win now. It's the accumulation of assets and trying to get lucky in free agency.
Right. And we're in an asset building phase, JL. So what do you think about that? If the point guard is sitting there on the 3-4 slot or even the 5 slot, do you go there if he's the best player available, or do you try to address another need area, JL? What do you think?
Man, I've been going back and forth this all the time, but I'm like, Kyrie's coming, might as well get him anyway.
See, this is why I wish free agency was before the draft. It only makes sense, man.
Yeah.
It only makes sense. Free agency needs to come before the draft so that we know for sure, like, okay, Kyrie's not coming. Let's address, whatever it is we need to address.
Because then we got trade chips.
Then you got trade chips. Then you got trade chips, I wish that we'd do that, man. But what do you guys think about that in the chat, man? If the point guard is available and we're looking at the 3 to 5 range, still having DSJ, and you have a guy like a Morant or Garland up there, what do you guys do? Let us know in the chat. Leave a comment in the chat.
So I want to say one quick thing.
Yeah.
So someone asked about Sekou.
Yeah.
I don't think, last year people were talking about him as the next Giannis. Mm. He's not. Mike Schmitz actually put out a piece earlier this week, and he said he's more of like an Alpha Camino guy, which I've been saying since last year. I spoke with Mike Schmitz on the phone a couple months ago and actually said that's what I'm thinking. He's like, yeah, I think the people are kind of like blowing it out of proportion a little bit. So I don't think Sekou is really someone you take it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I like Aminu. Like he's a good 5th starter, but I don't really think you should try to pick a 5th starter if the ceiling, the realistic ceiling isn't that high.
I agree with that, and we're gonna get to your next tier players. Let's go to the phones. Will from LI wants to talk about how Zion should keep playing despite the injury. Will, what's going on, bro?
Yo, what's going on? CP, JL, Spencer, how you doing?
Good, man. How you feeling, bro?
I'm doing all right. Listen, man, I was watching the Duke versus Carolina game, and I saw what happened to Zion, and obviously we're going for the number 1 pick, and we don't know what's going to happen. But ultimately, going back to what I said before about professionalism and how the NBA is nowadays, I'm just like, listen, the kid signed the contract. He's with Duke, until he's officially going for the draft, he is, in a sense, he belongs to Duke, so he should play. And it also shows that he has a love for the game. And if he does keep playing, I think that shows a characteristic about him that he doesn't care about the money. Well, he cares about the money, but that's not all he cares about.
Right.
But he has a love for basketball, and that even makes him even higher on my list. So I just say, when it comes to Zion, even though it is a risk overall, I want a guy that loves the game for the game rather than, thinking about his pocket. Because that's what all these NBA guys nowadays are thinking about. I ain't liking that. I'm all for player empowerment, but the way they are nowadays is out of control. So I just want to get your opinion on that. Absolutely. I just want to get your opinion on that.
All right. Appreciate the call, Will. I mean, where are you at on this, JLs? If he should play, should he not play? What do you think about it?
Oh man, I like playing basketball. I haven't played in a minute, and I'm itching. So I can imagine if you have something to play for, like a championship or something like that. For a player, that would have to kill me personally, and a guy who wants to win something and be meaningful. Like, if you're a competitor, you're gonna want to play.
Yeah.
That's just is what it is. I wish these guys actually got paid something though, because it's not really fair.
There has to be some sort of system to get these guys paid, man. There got to be some sort of system to get these guys paid. Has to change.
Luckily
enough for Zion, I believe he has a $8 million insurance policy if he drops out of the lottery, Spencer.
Yeah, I think it's if he's picked. It's either 14 or 16.
Yeah, or 15. Yeah, 15.
Oof. Yeah, but still, if he drops out of the lottery, that's still less money he's making per year.
Right.
The qualifying offer and all that stuff is going to be lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate, man. OG Trill in the chat said he should do what Mitch did.
Or just pull out.
money, Mitch. He told Texas Western, maybe Texas Western didn't cut a big enough check. Buddy Mitch is like, listen, man, I'll be home. I'll be home, but good luck to you guys, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, like Spencer said, selfishly, I'd love to see him in the tournament. I'd like to see him run the table in the tournament. Obviously, it will make the tournament much better. But listen, the guy got to do what's best for him and his family, man.
I'm not completely mad.
Yeah,
I'll be a little upset because of for my own selfish reasons. I want to see some ball.
Right.
I have a feeling he's gonna play.
Yeah.
He just seems like he has that type of vibe to me, man.
I think he's gonna finish it out. I think he'll finish the deal.
Can we get him some new sneakers though? Can we do that?
Oh man.
Should play in LeBrons. That's what they were saying, because they're built for someone his size.
Yeah, I think Swin Cash or somebody was saying that. Yeah. Give him some LeBrons.
Yeah, Swin Cash did say that.
Yep.
Give him some LeBrons. It only makes sense.
My guy is a legit monster. This guy is busting through shoes.
That's what Alex said.
He's squeezing basketball. The fact that they're deflating live on camera. It's he's not human. This is an alien. We need to give him some alien wear.
Crazy, man. And are these the same shoes that Paul George is wearing in an MVP type season?
Yeah.
I
don't know. But Paul George is tearing up the league right now, man. Paul George is back.
The game winner last night.
Game winner last night against who they play? Utah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like a teardrop over Rudy Gobert.
Paul George is
hell of a tear.
Beast, man. Beast, man. Yeah. Good for them. Good for them. I hope they give Golden State a run for their money at least.
Oh, yeah, I'll be hyped if Thunder won something.
Yeah, at least make it challenging.
Nowhere.
Yeah, make it challenging, man. Get KD pissed off where he hates Draymond. Let's see another huddle, a fight in the huddle, and Draymond's hogging the ball.
Yeah, you know what? If that happens, then I can see him staying with Golden State. Never mind, I don't want that.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to be the extra motivation to get him here and clean up this mess. But we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. I appreciate the call, Will. Let's go to Jersey. Jamal from Jersey wants to talk about the RJ Zion debate. Jamal, what's going on, bro?
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Good. How you doing, bro?
All right.
Real quick, going off what the last caller said, everybody who don't want Zion to sit out is a millionaire already. Krzyzewski, the university, pretty much everybody except him.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't agree with that premise. I think he should do what's best for him. People don't know his family situation. He can have people in his family with ailments. You just don't know. You can't really judge it based off what we want.
Yeah.
Everybody that don't want him to play is millionaires already. Simple as that. Far as the debate, I think it is a debate with him and RJ Barrett. My only concern with Zion is injury history. He's 18 years old. He weighs 285. The shoe incident is an example of the force and stuff he exerts and puts on his joints. He's going to go from doing that 30-something games to 82 games. I mean, he can easily get injured in a pro and miss 20, 30 games, half a season. What is he going to do? He's going to stop eating? I mean, if he's at 285 at 18, what will he weigh at 25?
And
like
he's going to keep growing, man.
Right. His style of play is physical, force. He has a motor. I mean, the kid is an animal, but injury concern for him and that type of player is a real issue, especially like around second contract time. That's my concern with Zion. It's not what he does on the floor. His jump shot is extremely slow, so it's questions on if he's going to be able to get that off in a pro. He does a wind up. So I think for his first few years, it's going to be pure athleticism. And I think it's a legit concern with can he hold up in his joints and stuff. The kid is, we haven't seen nothing like him.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Spencer, what do you think about that, man?
Yeah, I agree that, I mean, the weight and his style, there's some reason for concern, but he doesn't have an injury history. Like the MCL, the sprain.
I think he was more so saying injury risk. I think he meant to say injury risk.
Yeah. I mean, every player has an injury risk, and yes, there's going to be maybe a bigger chance at him just because he's a more athletic guy. But I mean, he's not going to play at 285. Like most guys, in fact, pretty well on the bet that every player who goes from college to the NBA, they get in better shape. You know, they have nutritionists, they have like certified trainers who make it their living with Zion, who's going to make basketball as a full-time living, to just perfect everything about him.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
go ahead, James.
All saying that Knicks, that Fizz comes from that Heat background. They're going to have everybody in shape.
In shape.
Have like a fitness check. They had a fitness test before they even played this season.
Yeah.
So I would have to imagine if that ever happened with the Knicks,
they're
going to put him through the ring and make sure he's at his lowest weight possible. So.
Yeah, like I actually think his playing weight's going to be like around 260. And LeBron's 6'8", 260. They're different type of athletes. I think actually in some respects, Zion's closer to a Derrick Rose type of athlete. So there's higher risk for an ACL injury or something like that. But like he is built like a rock.
Yeah. Solid, man.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you would have to think, man, with all we got and with all we know and have in terms of modern medicine and science and analytics, you know, they're going to have this guy, you know, well in tuned within a good playing weight that, you know, maximizes his strengths and you know, tries to diminish the risk of injury. I don't think, you know, you'll see it balloon up like guys like Rodney Rogers, where they compare him to, have ballooned up to Tractor Trailer and all those guys. You know, hopefully he doesn't turn into one of those guys. Tractor Trailer, man. R.I.P. to both of them, man. R.I.P. Tractor Trailer died and Rodney Rogers died. Yeah, man. Well, yeah, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat once again. This is a special edition, Saturday edition. An early NBA draft. We got to get started early, man. We got to break up the monotony of all the losing, JL. There's only so much losing we can talk about in the live stream. We got to get to the draft and to the off season. So we got Spencer in here talking about some of his top 5 big board and answering you guys' questions as well. Once again, for those of you in the chat who have questions, you can either call us up or you can fill in the Google form. Dave and Alex should have already sent the link out. We'll get to those at the end of the show. Let's go to Manhattan. Omar from Manhattan wants to talk about the Duke plays in the draft. Omar, how you feeling, bro?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good. How you doing, man?
Good. Well, you know, first off, just kind of piggybacking off of, you know, that injury concern that Jamal from Jersey was talking about. Honestly, if we're nitpicking a kid, you know, because he works too hard or plays too hard, that he might be an injury concern, I mean, when are we going to satisfy anybody? You know, Cam Reddish has a low motor. Knox has a low motor. And what, Zion has too high of a motor? What do you want then?
Like, if anything, you know, that just comes with maturity. Like, you'll have to understand where to pick his spots a little better. But I would not make that a concern that the guy plays too hard or, you know, is just an absolute physical animal out there. You know, that's how, like, people did that with Luka last year the other way. Like, you know, he's not athletic enough. Now Zion's too athletic. Like, we're just almost nitpicking at this point.
Yeah.
You know, I told you guys on a previous show that I saw them in person in Cameron Indoor when they played Princeton, and I was lucky enough to, like, sit right on the floor and watch them. And I'm about 6'7" myself. Zion is basically 6'7", so that's good to know. And Cam Reddish is super tall. He's a legit 6'9".
Interesting.
So, like, from that standpoint, like, just like with the measurements, but you know, with Zion, like, what he's such a safe pick to me over the other two is that he actually has, like, elite NBA skills and quality that the other two just don't. You know, I think when you have, like, a top draft pick, and Spencer, you could speak to that. When you evaluate these guys and these front office people who are putting their jobs on the line with these draft picks, I think they want to see, like, an elite NBA skill that they can bank on. And with Zion, it's his finishing, his rebounding, his defense. And RJ, it's almost like he's the jack of all trades, like a little bigger version of Evan Turner. It, like, kind of scares me in that sense. Because he doesn't do anything great. He just does a lot of things well. I don't know what you guys think, because when I see Zion defensively, it's like Draymond Green on steroids.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said his defense is
I
more to
like
me than his athleticism.
Yeah. That's to me. I'm like, at the very least, he's going to score 15 points by accident,
right?
Just from getting to the line and easy dunks.
Yeah.
So
offensive rebounds,
that defense, I'm like, you see Draymond now, who's the same height as him, but doesn't he? Zion has 50 pounds on him and a foot on his vertical and is way more athletic. I'm like, that makes me feel safe. Like, all right, this guy's going to be a quality defensive player at the minimum. And the other two, I just don't see anything great. Morant over in Murray State, I actually see, like, you know what? He's a great passer. He could pass his left hand, right hand, you know, pass from different angles. His athleticism, he could get to the hole at will. And you know what? And if anything, I think in the NBA will translate even more. And that's probably what hinders a little bit the other guys like Cam and RJ, is that people don't realize that in college, the paint is 4 feet narrower and there's a 3-second count. There's no 3-second count on defense. So you can pack the paint. The spacing is so much tighter than it is in the NBA, where the NBA has a 4-foot wider key and a defensive 3-second count. I just think when the floor opens up for some of these guys, so that you can't triple team Zion in the NBA like that you could do in college. So he will have his way getting into the paint. And I just thought, what do you guys think that, like, if we don't fall and get 1 or 2, I actually kind of like what Spencer's saying in terms of evaluating your possibility to trade down. Would you be open to it?
I've always been against it, man. I've always been against it. I just feel like if there's a player that another team is willing to trade up for, I always say then why wouldn't we take that same player?
I agree. No, I agree. I would trade up too if the possibility was there, and if we were like needed to go from 4 to 2 or 4 to 1. But just assessing that if you could only stay at 4, there's no possibility of trading up. Would you trade down and try to get, you know, a couple shots at
I might do that, yo.
Like,
I'm
would you
not
rather
that
have
high
the 8th pick in this?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I might do that. I'm not that high on Reddish and RJ, to be honest with you. And those are guys who seem to be the guys slide to be 2 and 3. I might be higher on a Morant or anybody but those guys. So if Morant is slide to be 3 or 4, and then I might trade down for that. But I might do that, depending on where I am.
And Spencer,
maybe 3 and lower. I don't know.
And Spencer, you were saying that if they found value at one of these slots, you would definitely entertain trading down.
Yeah. I just don't really think there's that big of a drop off between 2 and 8. Like, you know, if RJ's going to go 2, if Culver's going to go 3, Cam 4, whatever, if you can grab DeAndre Hunter, who I think has some Robert Covington in his game, that's an unbelievable value, especially if you can pick up, you know, maybe a protected first that turns into 2 seconds or something like that. Like, you know, the Knicks are in asset accumulation mode, and I don't really think there's that second star in this draft. Like, this draft is not last year. There's no Jaren, Trey, Luka. There's no, like, Bagley. There's none of that. Carter.
Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch. I mean, like,
Exactly.
that's not going to happen this year. But going back to what he said about Zion and having that, like, elite skill, so, I mean, you know, you have the floor, you have the ceiling. Every elite skill just makes the floor that much higher and higher, and it raises the ceiling higher as well. So instead of a player, like, if you think of it on a scale of 10, instead of having, you know, the jack of all trades who has like 4 skills at a 5, Zion having the elite athleticism, the very, very good defense, the elite finishing, rebounding, all that stuff, that instead of being 4 or 5s, he's got like 8, 8, 8, and then you know, his shooting's a 2 or a 3. I mean, 2 maybe is too low. But like, you know, a 3.5 or whatever. The shooting's gonna come up with time, but he has that. He has the ground already to come in day one and like impact games. You can't turn that down.
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the weight issue is just a little overblown, because if you think he's a hard worker, then that will take care of itself. You know, rest in peace to like the Rodney Rogers and Tractor Taylor, but they were kind of lazy throughout their careers. That was always the knock on them, that they didn't take their career seriously. If you think Zion's that type of kid that's going to take his career seriously, weight won't be an issue.
Yep.
That's fair.
You know?
Fair
and
point.
he's a freak. Like LeBron, people thought LeBron was going to age badly. Remember when people were talking about that back like in 2010 before, like, you know, he would be an old 30 with bad knees? Like, these guys are outliers when it comes to like normal physical norms that we have in our heads.
The laws of physics don't
and
apply.
it's just like you have to throw that out the window. Like, they're outliers. The Greek Freak's going to be an outlier. It feels like it.
Yeah.
It's almost like Kareem, that like he could, you know, they're aliens.
Facts.
So, yeah, I like Zion. It's head and shoulders above everyone else. Like, if I'm getting in this draft, like, even if we don't get 1, find a way to get to 1. If possible, try to trade up. And I would trade up a lot to get him. You know, and I would actually trade up all that stuff that we were saying about trading for Anthony Davis. I would include that to trade up for Zion. That's how highly I think of him.
Interesting. Okay, appreciate.
Like,
the
I
call,
would trade. I would go like 4th pick in Knox, and, you know, one of the Dallas firsts for Zion.
Oh yeah, I would do that.
Oh yeah,
I would do that.
I don't think they would do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if the number one Phoenix or the Bulls would do that, but I would do that. I would definitely do that, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, just at a minimum, I would put in a lot in that deal.
Yeah.
Like, just to do it.
Okay. I appreciate the call, man. Good call, bro, as usual.
All right, thanks,
man.
guys.
Yeah, man. And Omar's always a good call, man. Appreciate the call, bro.
Yeah.
May 14th can't come soon enough, guys.
Oh yeah, man.
Absolutely. Can't come soon enough, man. 14% chance, 50% chance at the 5th pick if we finish first.
I saw somebody ask about Clark.
Yeah, Brandon Clark, Spencer. Brandon Clark. Okay, yeah, Spencer's got, you got about 10 minutes?
Yeah, about 10, 15
All right,
minutes.
cool. All right, so we got no more calls in the queue. Dave, I'll shut down the phone. Shout out to everybody for calling in. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. This is special edition Saturday show, NBA Draft Edition. Talk about some of your other tier guys, Spencer, Brandon Clark being one of them.
Yeah, so Clark I love. If Clark were like 20 years old, if he were 21, he'd be the number 2 player in the draft. Like, he does everything. He's unbelievable defender. He's a great passer. He played point guard in high school. Sam Vecini of The Athletic, I think it was him, had a good piece on him and talked a little bit about that. The jump shot needs work, but there's no reason to think that like there's nothing broken with his form.
Okay.
So I think it's going to come in time. But similar to how Jaren was just kind of a step ahead last year on defense, Clark, I think, is that same type of just purely like instinctive. Like he sees what's going to happen, he does it. But it's like the passing ability also, and he's a good finisher. He's active on the glass. There's very little reason to have him, like, in terms of pure skill, he's one of the most skilled players in the draft. It's just he's going to be, I think, 23 his rookie year, 22 turning 23
an old rookie.
On the older side.
I see that. Okay. How about Hunter out of UVA? DeAndre Hunter.
Another guy who I like. The guy's awesome. He's very, very, very smart on defense also, same thing, but he takes no risks. So if you look at his steals and blocks, they're, for someone 6'8", 235, they're on the lower end. But he's the type of player, like, he doesn't gamble. He'd rather take his chances just defending anyone one-on-one because he believes in his defensive ability. And watching him play for Virginia, he has that ability. So it's not like there's any projection involved. Like, he'll guard anyone from Luke May. That was probably his best post defense I've seen this season from him. He guarded Kobe White, Cam Johnson, Luke May, and Kenny Williams. I think it's a shooting guard. He guarded like literally every position on the court that game, and he does it all very, very well. But he doesn't take risks. So I've seen people get a little bit down on him that he's not really using his length, and he doesn't get in the passing lanes that much. But like he's another plug and play guy. He will defend the best perimeter option, and he'll do very well at it.
Okay. And I just saw somebody said he dropped 26 today on Louisville. Seems like guys were impressed. So we'll take a look at some of the highlights later on. But yeah, that's DeAndre Hunter out of UVA. So to recap, Spencer gave us his top 5 as it stands right now, pre-March Madness, NBA draft prospects. We had Zion number 1. Cam was number 2. Or no, who was your number 2? It was
2's Garland, Culver. It's like all of them.
Yeah. Oh, well, because you lumped them into like a second tier, basically. So it's basically Zion and the rest. And the rest being R.J. Barrett, Darius Garland, Jarrett Culver, Cam Reddish. And outside looking in is Ja Morant. Is Ja Morant. Let's take a couple quick flash questions. Somebody in the chat asked, Ernesto asked, what about centers? Do you see any centers being taken in the top 6?
I guess Brandon Clark could kind of be a center. He's more of a small ball center, but like not really.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a particularly high ceiling. And Jackson Hayes maybe.
Okay.
Out of Texas, 6'11", like he's long. He's another, like, he's a pretty quick learner. Very limited offensive game. He's not a great passer, but he shows some flashes. But his movement patterns, like, the guy is like, he is an athlete. He is very, very light in his feet. I can see him going top 6. I have him somewhere in my like second tier now, or like the very top of the third on the border between the second and third. But he's really the only one who I take if I needed the center.
Okay. Another guy I'd asked you about in the chat is asking about Rui Hachimura out of Gonzaga. You were putting Brandon Clark over him. You said you weren't so high as people are on him. What's your takes on Rui?
Yeah. With him, it's just more of like the idea, what is he providing besides scoring? He's not a good passer. He's not a good defender. And I mean, people say that, it could be just a learning curve. Didn't really speak English, I don't think, before he got to Gonzaga. It's like he reminds me a little bit of Jabari without the explosiveness, and I'm not a Jabari guy. So, I mean, he's going to go lottery. I'd bet Rui goes lottery. I just don't think it's going to pay off in the end because, like, one-dimensional players who offer literally nothing or very, very little elsewhere. They don't really have a place anymore in the NBA.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. Romeo Langford, what do you think about him?
Yeah, I tweeted this a few months ago, but if he had a consistent jump shot, he'd probably be another, he'd be the second overall pick in the draft. He finishes really, really well, like 99th percentile, or I think he was at 100th percentile earlier in the season. He can pass, even though Indiana's not using him as a playmaker. He's good in the pick and roll. But the jump shot is a major question mark. And he has it's not like the elbow is bad. It's his wrist. Like, he really cocks back his wrist. So that I've never seen that before. I like Romeo though. I wish he had a better jump shot, and then I wish he paid attention more to his man off ball, because schematically he's good. He'll rotate pretty well. Just the jump shot.
All right. Last one. Who's your sleeper in this draft, and how do we get him? That question is from Keith Sinclair in the draft. Who's your sleeper, and how do you get him?
I mean, Alex says Boris Simonic. I love him. He's the guy.
Is that the Porzingis? Is that the bootleg Porzingis you were telling me about?
Yeah, he's the guy who wrote my piece on for the Stepien. I wrote the big board, and then I wrote the piece on Simonic. But he's very skilled. He's 7 feet tall. He's a hyper athlete. He's a fluid athlete. Much more athletic than KP is, both laterally and vertically. Just, it's the same thing with him. His mentality is more along the lines of I'm going to hang out on the perimeter. He's not really demanding the ball. He's not a post-up guy, which I understand. His role with Red Star is strictly as a floor spacer. So I think there's definitely some room to unlock more of his game, because I think he has a little bit of a handle. But, I mean, you can never have enough guys who can space the floor, who can defend the rim a little bit. He can switch. And he's young. I mean, he's probably going to go, if he enters the draft, somewhere in the mid to late second, because I think he's still under contracts for one more year with Red Star. But I like Simonic.
All right, definitely obtainable, and we'll pull up some highlights throughout the year on him as well. JL's last one, Spencer. What'd you say?
Do we have a second? We have a late second, right? I don't know if we have a.
Houston's. Do we have a second round pick? That's a good question. We'll look into that one. Good question. How about Shamori Pons for the locals out here, Spencer? Let's close with Shamori Pons. What's your take on him?
Yeah, he's another guy. I had him in around that Trey Jones, Kobe White, Jordan Poole tier. He's a hell of a shooter, a hell of a scorer. The shot I still think is a little bit streakier. I'd want it to be, and he's another guy who you could just, it's like a Lou Williams. If you want someone to just go in and run the entire offense through and just put up points, he'll do that. Have some shot selection concerns, but watching St. John's with him on the court and then without him on the court, you completely understand why he does what he does. His role is to be the engine.
The guy, yeah.
Not, St. John's kind of screwed.
Yeah.
But I like Pons. He's fun. I mean, he got pretty crapped on by Duke when they played, but
yeah, expected.
Pons is a good player.
And Trey Jones is a good player, man. Trey Jones is
good.
a good player, man. All right, yo, this was a great session, man, and I think if you're able to come back, Spencer, I think at maybe a post lottery show when we actually know where we're at, where it all stands, I think that will be in order. So you could give us your definitive lists and the first and second round if we have that second round pick, man. But I definitely appreciate you joining us, educating the fans on some of the guys we need to look out for. Obviously, as we near the tournament, these guys will be more and more prevalent on the national stage as well, man. So customary on the show, Spencer, to close out, I'm going to throw the camera on you. Just tell the people where they can find you at and on Twitter, and promote your website, everything, man.
Yeah, so I'm at Front Office I, just spell that out, it's one word. And I'm writing for the Stepien, and they're at just thestepien.com. And I'm putting out a whole bunch of videos. Like maybe usually I tend to slow down a little bit over the weekend because that's my like I just kind of binge watch games. But during the week, I'm putting out 1, 2, 3, 4 videos a day on a couple of guys who I like. Yeah, I mean, give me a follow on Twitter. I'm active.
Sounds good, man. Thanks again, Spencer. All right, JL, it's up to you, man.
Yeah, you already know the drill. In my description, you see all the links. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Twitter, The KLT Show. Instagram, The Nick of Time Show. Also on Facebook. Also, check out the podcast with me and the crew. I know we took a break, coming back on Tuesday. So check the link in the description for that. It's on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, all that stuff. And yeah, also the merch. I got merch coming. The Fizdale. I mean, I know some of the merch got wiped out because everybody got traded, but the Fizdale, the Fizz hoodie is still popping. You know what I'm saying? People still love the Fizz stuff. So you do that, you do the Knocks. Actually got the Knocks on today.
There you go. Show them the drip. All right.
Yeah, show them the drip. Yeah, link in the description for my merch as well. And that is it. Back to you, CP.
Appreciate it, Jay Ellis, and appreciate you, Spencer. And yo, man, thanks to everybody for tuning in. This was a special Saturday edition. It's time to talk draft. You just heard Spencer break down his strengths and weaknesses for some of these guys, some of these top prospects, man. So once again, we thank Spencer for providing us with that education. If you guys enjoyed this show, give us a thumbs up. That's the best way to promote this show. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. Share this show with your fellow Knicks fan. Let them know it's draft time, and we got to dig into it. This show is available in audio format: Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Alexa, Stitcher. So for those of you that need to listen to it in audio format, you have that option available as well. Replay of this show will start at about 5 p.m. Eastern time and replay throughout the night. And yeah, man, that's it, man. Great show, fellas, once again. Sunday night we'll be back. Knicks versus Spurs. Keith Sinclair, appreciate it. Tyon Reed, Ace Bezel, Natty Solo. JL, who you got in your chat?
Yeah, Rich Jim, HB Mac, Charles Lasseter, Matt B, Young Simba. Young Simba. And State of New York, next spot. He was here last night and he's here today.
Hey, man. Yeah, man. We got the regulars in here, man.
Yeah, the regulars in here.
Yeah, man. All right, people. So we'll see you tomorrow night, 10:30 Eastern, Knicks versus Spurs. Let's keep the tank rolling. And, yeah, man.